So welcome to my channel. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, comment any other questions or anything like that that you might have. Today I'm going to be talking about Walt Disney World races, Run Disney races, specifically ones that run through the castle or ones that you have a goal where you really want to get like that great shot picture for whatever reason. Probably for you to hang in your office, hang at home, show to friends, or even just so that you can remember that time and that experience. If you're one of those people, keep watching because I have some tips for you. Now, a little background. I have done a half marathon at Disney, a full marathon at Disney, 3 5Ks at Disney, wow, 2 10Ks at Disney, and I did all that in a year's time. So I feel like now I have much more confidence going into a Run Disney experience because it is very different than other races I've done. Marathon weekend, basically castle races, and that's because they're much more crowded, and so the crowding and the bottlenecks tend to be a little harder to navigate than the other races I've done, like Wine and Dine. Wine and Dine's small bottlenecks are nothing compared to Marathon Weekend's bottlenecks. So, if you are looking to do a Disney race that runs through Walt Disney World's castle, here are 6 things that I learned. Number 1, get to your corral early. I mean, really early. Because if Run Disney tells you it's going to take you 20 minutes, say, to walk to your corral, then it's going to take you 20 minutes. I'm a pretty fast walker, and I got to my corral in 18 minutes. And I timed it just to see, like, are they serious? Like, really, this shouldn't be more than a 10-minute walk. But the thing about it is you're navigating through a lot of security, which thank God we have security at any races. Like, we are blessed to have that, but you're navigating through security. You're navigating through areas that you don't really see that often at Disney anyway, and also they look way different in the dark because it's very dark. And then on top of that, once you get to the area where all the corrals are, now you have to figure out where yours is. And this year they split off in 2 different directions, so you had to really listen carefully to the cast member. So get there early. There's always a place to stretch that you'll be able to find near the corrals, so don't worry about warming up or stretching. And I know this, so advice number 2, and this one I know is sometimes like unavoidable, like you can't really prepare for bathroom breaks always, but for me, I set pee break goals at TMI. I set pee break goals, and basically what a pee break goal is I'm not going to like pee until I get to a certain mileage. So I know through my training that I can go 13 miles without a pee break if necessary. Now that's not like, oh, I've got to do that, but in previous races on race day and through training around my neighborhood, I haven't had to pee for 13 miles. So that's really good for me. And that also, like, don't dehydrate yourself doing that. Like, please don't feel like, oh, because she can do it, I can do it. No, like, most people can't do that. And it doesn't mean I'm comfortable doing that. Like, I'd much rather not, but if I have to. This is because porta potties, while they are plentiful at a Disney race, it gets very long lines. And you can't prepare for, like, the bottlenecks that are going to eat your time, the issues with like trying to navigate walkers and runners because runners etiquette isn't always followed on race day. These things all eat up your time. So bathroom breaks is something that you typically can control. We can't always control it, but if we can, plan it out. So for marathon, I was like, if I can get to mile 10, I'll be okay. Well, at mile 10, there was a bottleneck issue for me, and I was a little antsy because I had just done like my castle picks and all of that, and that was a bottleneck issue in itself. So I was like, you know what? I think I can still make it. So I got through, I think it was Animal Kingdom that I was coming out of. Yeah, I think it was Animal Kingdom that I was coming out of. And that was after about like mile 14. And then I got to like really close to mile 15 and I saw porta potties and I was like, done, going there, happy. So I made it to mile 15, but I was like desperate. I'm not telling you to do that because it was rough. But if you plan it, if you make P-break goals, it'll actually help with your time. Unless like you really, really have to go, then you know you're gonna slow down, but it'll help with your time and it'll help you to get that extra cushion you may need to do something else during the race, like stop for a picture or stop for fuel or stop at the medic stand and get some biofreeze, something like that. So setting P-break goals is a great way to do that. 3, this is the big one. If you want a good castle photo, stick around to the end if you want to see more of my castle photos, but I'll put up this one. And that one was one that many people want, and sometimes people run like 2 or 3 races to get that photo because there are thousands of people running through that castle. So it's hard to get to the correct side for where they're gonna be. And once you're on the correct side, it's hard to know whether or not they captured you or someone else, all that stuff. So how I got this photo and the other photos you'll see towards the end. Okay, so it gets congested. So the key for that is to look for the big holes. This means that you are going to either need to speed up or slow down to find your space. I try to look for space where I'll have at least 5 feet in front of me and at least 4 feet behind me. This is for a couple of reasons. 1, the castle tends to come around mile 5 for most of the races, for my understanding. Like, please correct me if I'm wrong, but mostly around mile 5 or 6. So during that time, people are starting to get tired or they do a good job at pacing themselves. This means that they're going to start breaking off into groups. Some people still have a lot of heat, so they're gonna all be packed together and they're gonna be pacing strong together. If I want to be in front of that crowd, I need to choose to go faster. But as the castle comes up, people are gonna be trying to bump around you to get their personal castle pick. I mean, it's just gonna happen. And you don't ever wanna be one of those people who blocks a person from their castle pick or gets blocked from their castle pick. So what I do is the 4 feet behind me is to make sure that I don't block anyone else from their shot. The 5 feet in front of me is to make sure nobody blocks me. Sometimes someone may try to run from behind you, but you can speed up, like you can sense that. So you find your space and then you try to maintain it. Finding your space too early means that people get the potential to like try to bump up against you. So what I do is I try to do it by the carousel. So I look for Cinderella's carousel, look for the spot where there's going to be a lot of room, and then I run towards it. There are photo pass tents. This will let you know where the photo pass person's going to be. They aren't necessarily in the tent, so you want to be aware of anywhere between 2 to 3 feet around that tent, and it can be on either side. Okay. Also, if you want a castle pick directly in front of the castle, so this is not one running through, this is one where you're actually posing in front of the castle. It's something that I wanted. It's right here. So in order to get that picture without taking up a lot of my time, I looked for the shortest line possible. And then in that line, I also made sure that no one in front of me had a camera out too. The reason I did that is because the people who have camera phones out, plus they're getting their picture taken, that's gonna take up more time. So I looked for a short line with nobody who was holding a phone. That way it went like this. Literally, it took me maybe a minute, maybe. And there were about 6 people in line. Luckily, runDisney does a good job of making sure that there are enough PhotoPass photographers and enough lines in front of the castle that it goes by pretty fast. Okay, then you're gonna try to filter back in after that castle pick. So when you're filtering back in, you're gonna get another shot to get a castle pick. The key with this is to, once again, look for those big holes, because you don't want to cut in front of someone so that they can't get their castle pick, just basic etiquette. And also you don't want to be behind anyone else when you were trying to get a pick. So just wait for the big hole, and you'll see one, because people will filter off to the left to get their pictures in front of the castle, and when people are filtering off to the left, you filter into that big hole and you get your next shot. Pose for like a hot second. I like just kind of did a little jump thing into the air and took off running. So I hope that that answered all of your how do I get a great castle pick picture in my first run. These runs are expensive, so if you're doing it just for that perfect castle picture, try your best to get it on the first shot. If you have any other questions about that, please just post them at the bottom. I'd be happy to help you any way I can. Up next, number 4, endurance. After about mile 19 of the Walt Disney World Marathon, I was exhausted. I had run out of things to talk to myself about, and I didn't think I had it in me anymore. And the thing is in training, I had trained well past what I needed to, so I didn't understand why I was having such trouble. Granted, it was colder, the wind was harder, it's hard to navigate people. These are things that you can't necessarily practice for. Running around your neighborhood or doing training runs with friends, you can't anticipate everything that's going to go on, and that's where endurance comes into play. So what I did is I started counting down, and you can do this with like shorter races too. You can do it based on mile markers, or if you know the area, then you can do it based on like what you're racing towards. So for this one, I had already gone through Magic Kingdom. I had already gone through Animal Kingdom. I had already gone through ESPN, and I knew I only had 2 more to go. So I was like, okay, I'm headed to Hollywood Studios. What's my favorite ride in Hollywood Studios? I love Tower of Terror. That has been my favorite ride since I was a child, and I got to go on it with my dad. So I started talking to myself like that, and then I started remembering the times that we used to go on Tower of Terror over and over and over again. And that opportunity to have those memories with myself and talk to myself about it and get excited about it got me to Hollywood Studios. And then like I was smiling, and you'll see it in the pics in the end. I was so happy to be running in front of Tower of Terror, and when I passed it by, I was just like thinking about me and my dad, and it was so awesome. So then I was like, okay, after Hollywood Studios, what am I headed to? Epcot. And then I got to like think about all the fun times I've had at Epcot, and how Epcot means like I'm almost at the end. And then after Epcot, it's like there's the finish line, and then I just ran it on in. And that helped me so much. So if you've run out of things to talk to yourself about, just imagine what's next. What's the very next small thing I have to do before I can move forward, and move forward that way? And I want to see more people at the finish line. Less than 1% of the American population has completed a marathon. That's crazy to me. I would love to have inspired more people to complete a marathon. I don't need to be part of such a small percentage. I would love to be part of the growth of that percentage. That's what I want to do. Okay, so 5. Find your hole for the finish line. So like we talked about the castle pick holes to get your perfect finish line picture, you need that for the finish line at the end too. There are going to be characters typically for half marathons or marathons on either side of the run. The only time I didn't see this was at Wine and Dine. I didn't see the characters. That doesn't mean they weren't there. It probably just means I wasn't paying attention. But you want to find your hole, and you're going to have to find it a little bit back. So when you're about 50 feet from the finish line, you want to start looking for that. If that means you have to slow down a little bit, slow down. Unless you really want a PR which means a personal record at a Disney race, which most people don't care for that just because they're looking for these pictures and these memories to be made with people and stuff like that. So look for your hole. Once you have your hole, run it in. And when you're running it in, be aware of where all of the photographers are. Also be aware of the people around you. So you want to make sure your hole, opposed to being front and back, is also side to side so that people can't run in front of you. Because if there's a character on the side you're on, that means that someone's going to try to run and high five that character. So you want to kind of give yourself room on either side. Another thing is many people like going through the center of the finish line, so that means there's going to be more people and more chance of getting blocked or getting your picture lost. I typically go for the far right or the far left side. There's just less people around, and there's also a greater opportunity to get that shot. Princess 10K was super packed, and even with my hole, getting to the finish line, I still got blocked some. So some of my pictures don't have just me in them. They have some people off to the left of me. Which typically my finish line pictures don't really have people right next to me at all. So that was new and different for me. And all I could think about was, you know what? It would have been a lot worse if I hadn't found my hole. My last thing, my sixth piece of advice: take it all in. Experience every mile, every step, every pavement pounded, and breathe and love it and enjoy it. Don't be super focused on getting that perfect castle pick or that perfect finish line pick. Think about the moments in between. Take a look at the parts of the park you never thought you'd really see in this light, like running down Main Street or running in front of the old train. These are things that I will treasure for the rest of my life. And knowing I had that opportunity is amazing, and I want you to have that too. So you're preparing right now, and I can tell because you're watching this. As you prepare, also remind yourself to give yourself that time, give yourself that experience. And I'm so excited for you. I hope I'm at that next race. In the future, I hope you liked and subscribed to this video, because I plan on putting out videos about race training, about race dieting. By dieting, I mean nutrition, so what I eat before and after and during training for long distance running. And I'm also going to put out a few more vlogs with the different races I've done. So this one at the end is going to be a compilation of, oh, this is my last year. This last year, these are the runDisney races I did, and these are like the little snippets I have from them. But going forward, I hope to do more vlogs during the races and during the expos and stuff like that, and then put them into race recaps for you all. I hope this advice was helpful for you. Thank you so much. Keep running the race set out for you. Bye.